Hey, I'm Jana, the little sister.
And I'm Jeff, her big brother. Welcome to Sibling Rivalry, a podcast about our favorite sport, baseball.
This week on Sibling Rivalry Baseball, we're back, baby.
So is baseball and the SRBB headlines.
Fans in the stands. All teams have announced they expect to welcome fans back to the stadiums. Each team will have varying capacity limits and attendance criteria.
Texas Rangers have renamed their spring training facility Charlie Pride Field in honor of Charlie Pride, who passed away on December 12, 2020. He was a Country Music Hall of Famer, Negro League player, an Army veteran, and part owner of the Rangers. Additionally, the Rangers announced the Charlie Pride Fellowship Program, a 10-week internship for college juniors and seniors, allowing them an inside look at front office operations.
March Madness is underway. Like the NBA's Orlando bubble, the NCAA tournament is taking place entirely in Indianapolis. The champions will be crowned Monday, April 5th.
While Tom Brady signed a 4-year extension with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Drew Brees announced his retirement after a 20-year NFL career, primarily with the Saints.
Former LA Laker All-Star, LA Clipper General Manager, and Basketball Hall of Famer Elgin Baylor died of natural causes on March 22nd. Known as the superstar of his era, he was Rookie of the Year in the 1958-1959 season and an 11-time All-Star in his 14-year career. Magic Johnson described Elgin Baylor as being Showtime before there was Showtime.
You can find these and past week's headlines on our website, siblingrivalrybb.com. Remember to rate and subscribe wherever you listen, and tell a friend to listen to the Sibling Rivalry Baseball Podcast. Welcome back. Season 2. We made it through Season 1, amazingly enough. Did you think we'd make it?
I was wondering about that, especially early on. But Season 1 made all the difference when the Dodgers won the World Series.
Based off of that, does that mean we always have to do this because you figure by doing the podcast that will lead the Dodgers to a World Series? You're the good luck charm?
Well, I don't know if I'd go that far.
No, because you don't want to jinx it.
I don't want to jinx it. No, Season 1 was a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to a full season of baseball, 162 games.
Yeah, it'll be weird because last season, just as we were planning everything, boom, nothing. And
yeah.
But the weird part is like now it's easy to look back and say, oh, okay, I get it based on what was going on. But for the first few weeks, we were taking it all week by week because things could start up again because nobody really knew the depth of what was going to happen.
Right. Yeah, we had no idea it was going to be, we'd be sitting here a year later, things are getting better and vaccinations and things like that, but we're still not in the clear yet. So, but right. Baseball is back. So.
Right. And so far, we made it farther into spring training this year than we did last year. Mm-hmm. Obviously, like you said, things are better. We'll talk a lot about what we're looking at going forward for this coming season with some of the news. We'll talk a little bit about who went where and around from the Dodgers, Angels, around the league, and kind of get an update on where some of the key personnel are. And but first, let's take a look at some things that are going to be going on in the majors this season, and then we'll get to some stuff that they're going to be experimenting with in the minors. The one thing that I'm surprised by, kind of, is that there'll be no universal DH this year. I thought of everything that happened, that was probably the most universally accepted as far as baseball fans, because I think you and I are more traditionalist. And honestly, I'd be fine if the American League went back to pitchers hitting. But I'm okay with the split between the DH and one, because then you get two different kinds of games between the American League and the National League.
Yeah, I think that's always been something that I liked, is the American League had the DH, National League didn't. So then when they did come together and play, in, playoffs, the World Series, that, then it made that, okay, what's the National League team going to do? How is that strategy going to work? But one of the things too about, like you said, a universal DH should be universally accepted. And it is by the owners and the players, but because the players want it, the owners don't want it now.
Plus, I think it was also tied to the expanded playoffs.
Yes.
And the players weren't interested in the expanded playoffs, at least not as proposed. They were good with the DH. And that actually, I think, slowed down a lot of, well, it absolutely slowed down a lot of the signings of some of the players, like Marcell Ozuna may not be a Brave still if he could have been signed as a DH. He might have been still in the National League just with another National League team. Like, I don't know, the Padres.
Yeah, and you saw those guys like Marcell Ozuna, Nelson Cruz, he stayed with the Twins. Whereas if that DH, that universal DH was going to happen, then yeah, those guys would have been somewhere else.
So we'll
maybe
get to
with bigger contracts.
Yeah. Before we go back and look at some of the other things they are bringing back, let's look at some of the COVID things that are going to be in place. They're still going to be restricted to the hotel, even though a lot of people have shots now, and the stadiums are going to have fans of varying degrees. They're still going to be not permitted to leave the hotel other than for team activities at the team facility or at the ballpark, other than for medical reasons. They can go on outdoor walks or exercise, outdoor dining, if it's approved by a joint committee there within MLB, or other low-risk outdoor activities. I think the biggest thing they want to do is avoid them doing, going to gatherings, going to the clubs. No more bingo for the Cardinals or strip clubs. No more night clubbing for the Marlins.
Nope.
Unless you're all doing it together in one of the guys' rooms. Bring your own disco ball. Not as fun, I know, but that'll save you.
Strobe lights.
So a lot of the things that we saw in last season, they're still going to be as stringent with, because they want to make sure they have a full season. So a lot of those rules will still be in there.
Yeah.
There's not really been any, I think there's been a couple of positive tests I've heard of.
Yeah, me too.
In baseball. So it's like these guys know. They went through, I think last year was kind of almost like a training camp, a 60-game training camp on how to deal with playing baseball and living by these rules.
Right. But I still have a question about Justin Turner and what the heck happened. There's so many conspiracy theories out there, and I don't think we'll ever know. But
no, I think that's one of those that we're going to find out who shot JFK before we find out about Justin Turner. Yeah, I'm surprised that hasn't come out. They've kept that under wraps pretty well. My feeling is that Major League Baseball dropped it pretty quickly.
Yes.
I think had he actually been positive, not false positive, true positive, I think if he had been true positive, maybe there's a bigger stink about what happened. But because it was probably a false positive, they're like, this just should go away.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about it. That's But I would say he looks really good. He's lost
other
weight,
than that wheezing I've heard when I've watched some of the games.
But yeah, I think you're right with the COVID procedures. Last season was, that the training run, as you said, they learned, what to do and how to be safe, and hopefully everyone, follows those. And I think they are. I think because most, all the players want to play, and if they can play 162 games, they're going to do whatever they can to play them. So.
Right. We can talk a little bit about attendance.
Oh, right. Yeah.
That's connected to COVID as well. And unlike last year, this year we'll actually have attendance.
Yeah, we won't have any cardboard cutouts that I know of, unless like Fenway, where they're going to allow, I think, 4,500 people to come in, which seems like Fenway is like huge. I mean, it's like a big cavern, it's huge. And so
Right.
4,500 people seems, and they're going to be all spread out. So maybe they'll stick a cardboard, leftover from last season here or there. But in New York, if you go according to the governor, he said you have to show, that you had the vaccine. So you have to show your vaccination card. Although I will say, if you have your vaccination card, you can get a free donut at Krispy Kreme.
Yeah, I just heard that. And you can go every day. They're not limiting you.
Really?
To just
wow.
one. Yeah, you could go every day if you want.
Just flash that card.
All right. So, and that'll be something we'll see that as the season goes. I know some places like here, we have different tiers. And then in reading that they're going to a tier where I think now we're at a space where they can go up to like a 20% capacity. And there's some others when it gets to a certain point that if you have people that, have recent test or have their card, you can increase the overall attendance by up to I think I saw one time was like 67%.
Well, and what's interesting too is in the Rangers, it's full capacity. So that's like 41,000 people, but Houston is going to be 25% capacity. So I guess even though the state of Texas is open, each, city, municipality has their own rules.
Right.
And Arlington, they're like, hey, we'll just open up pop up the top on the grill and away you go.
Throw on some steaks and
yeah,
make some COVID. No telling. And we'll see though, that'll be the one to watch. How does that work? Do they at some point see some kind of a surge, a new COVID wave? And I know the biggest thing will be whatever these variants, right. I don't even know what those are, which one really is bad, which one isn't covered by the vaccine or, doesn't respond or isn't responding as well as other things. So we'll see if that happens though. If they do that, we may see them cut back on total amount of people. And that'll be every place you go. Miami, big dreams in Miami. They can have up to, I think you told me the other day, up to like 9,000 people or something like that.
9,300. I think that would set a season attendance record.
Right. Yeah. Because that's like 3 or 4 times what they normally have.
Right.
So we'll keep an eye on that throughout the season to see that. I got a thing from the Dodgers to if I wanted to sign up for a chance to go to opening day to buy tickets, not free tickets, but in the lottery so I could have a chance to buy tickets. And of course I signed up because honestly, it's going to cost a lot of money to go to games this year because people are so desperate to get out to go. There's going to be people who could care less about baseball, but just want to go out to an event.
Yeah. We're going to be in Arizona in June, and the Dodgers are going to be playing the Diamondbacks while we're there. So I've signed up for text alerts from the Diamondbacks when I can see if I can score some tickets.
Let's look at MLB and some of the things we can expect in games or rules that are going to either come back or something new that may be in place for this season. Doubleheaders.
Yeah, 2 7-inning games. I haven't looked at all of the schedules, but I haven't seen any doubleheaders that are scheduled. But I guess, if it happens like it did last year, then 2 7-inning games. So it could be great.
We may not have any, but you probably have some rain delays or, things happen.
Ghost runner on second.
I don't even think we could call it Zinnings with this Ghost Runner thing. I think
No.
it's like we're in overtime.
Yeah, it's overtime, but I think in the CBA, if they're going to keep the Ghost Runner on second, it's overtime and then time and a half for the players.
Yeah, I think the players did that. Unless it goes over 15 innings, then it's double time.
Double time, which could you imagine? Maybe
Wow.
they extended out just for that.
Right. What's Mike Trout make per inning? Now he's making double that. He's
Yeah.
making $1 million per inning.
Yeah, I don't think the owners will go for that.
Or Trevor Bauer. Trevor Bauer is going to want to pitch into extra innings. Trevor Bauer, the first pitcher to ever go 18 innings. He now makes $900 million a year. So we have that going on. One other thing that was supposed to start last year was instead of the 25-man roster, it was going to 26-man, and that was going to be it throughout the season. No late season call-ups. This season, we're going to start at 26, and then in September, expand 2 more players up to 28.
Yeah, and pitchers, there's no limit on pitchers, but I think that was the way it was last year too. Right. So now one thing, the taxi squads, they had the taxi squads last year at the alternate sites. Clubs can bring a taxi squad of up to 5 players on all road trips.
5 additional taxi squad.
Right. Yeah.
So they could take whatever the taxi squad was, they can bring 5 more and that's one thing that I'd had questions about because we're going to have minor league baseball this season.
Yes.
They're starting, they will start after the season starts. So in 1 April or whenever the major league teams break camp, the minor leagues players will all come into camp and start their training and start their season in May.
Right.
But some of them, and I only know what the Angels were doing. I didn't hear where other places are going, but the Angels are going to use their now low A minor league field out in San Bernardino, where the Inland Empire Route 66ers play, as their alternate site. Because you always have to have people in protocol. And that'll be one thing that is also like last year. You've got to have people ready at alternate sites. Plus that taxi squad will be people at the alternate site until they go on the road with them that are always in your team bubble. How does that work for those players? Once again, they're going to be at an alternate site just playing against themselves. Practice games, they're not going to get any real in-game development again.
Yeah. Well, and the Dodgers are using Camelback Ranch as their alternate site this year. So,
which makes sense to me because that's all your minor leagues will be there anyway. Right. So, and it's close enough. I think, last season they wanted it to be closer. So it's going to change up how rosters are handled. I do think a lot of your players, if they were optioned off to the minor leagues, they're probably going to spend the season in a minor league so that they can get their time and experience that they maybe didn't get last year. No universal DH as of now. I've seen a lot of places where they're like, well, maybe before the season starts, we'll get to a point and they'll decide to do this.
I think with the DH, although, I'm good. I'm fine if it becomes universal DH, but I think this spring training, we've seen a lot of pitchers enjoy being back in the batter's box. Tony Gonsolin, he hits pretty well. Clayton Kershaw, David Price
got scored his first run ever in his career.
Yeah. I don't think if there's no DH now, as of April 1st, I don't think this season will have a DH. It will be after they negotiate.
Yeah, I agree. I don't believe that it's got to happen before the season starts.
Right.
So, and honestly, at this point, why bother with it?
Yeah.
Because everybody's planning on not having at least the National League is planning on not having a DH. They worked around it. They signed players to their team based on that.
Yep.
So
What about the big question, the deadened ball?
right, how is that going to affect the game? Feel like if they deaden the ball, maybe there'll be less people aiming at the fences. The idea on beating the shift has been hit over it.
Right.
And what gets me is if you have all these people who are supposedly genius baseball people, as a lot of people recently have been crowned, how is it they haven't figured out that the best way is bunt it down the third base line when the third baseman's standing at shortstop?
Right. Exactly.
To me, isn't that where you build strategy? You learn how to hit opposite field.
Yep.
When I was in Little League, we were taught at times because there was a shift of sorts. If a left-hander came up, the first baseman moved closer to the line. The second baseman moved more to the middle of the space between first and second. Third baseman may even move over, but we were always kind of in a balance. But yeah, we'd shift over a little bit. Well, what did you do when people shifted? If for me, I was a right-handed hitter, third baseman moved over closer to the line because there was a better chance that, especially in Little League, that you're going to pull the ball. My coach was like, see this hole between first and second, because everybody kind of shifted around a little bit, hit through that hole.
Yeah. It's
Not
definitely
hit over it. Where's Rod Carew when we need him?
Yeah.
How about David Fletcher? Talk about a guy who's hit, and I know he's not a home run hitter, but he hits the ball over the place. And last season, there were 2 or 3 times where he had 2 or 3 hits in a game, all going opposite field, and they kept playing him to hit more to the left because he's a right-handed hitter.
Yeah.
Why do we need to deaden the ball? I mean, I get it. I'm fine with it. Of all the things that we're going to talk about here, deadening the ball a little bit, I just think you need to stop messing with the ball. Stop. You juiced it up because you wanted more offense, but then what you found out is that we're feast or famine with it.
I would like to know if those 2 monster home runs that Shohei Ohtani hit over the batter's eye, were those deadened? Because if so, it's not working.
Right. Well, or not for him. I think we just found out that kind of a monster he is, if that's the case. Because you figure both of those balls went 460 or more, or a little bit more. But they were crazy. The batter's eye. If you're not sure what that is, it is the green piece. If you look at every stadium has something out in center field, and it's dark back there. It's always dark in that area. That way the batter can see the ball as it's coming to them.
Right.
At Tempe Diablo Stadium, the batter's eye is about 40 feet tall. So you figure that's what, almost a 4-story building, give or take. So it's around 40 feet tall. So he hit it not only way past it, but he had to hit it up high. He hit 2 of them.
Yes.
This spring training. And Mike Trout hit one that almost went out beyond the grass out in the outfield. And then there's like a walkway, and then there's like bushes. And he hit it, and it landed like right at the bushes.
Yeah. And that, I always think when I look at their spring training field, because you can drive right past it on the freeway there in Tempe. And I always think, what if a ball, because any of those balls, if it was hit so hard over the batter's eye, it lands on the freeway.
Yeah, right. You see cars swerving.
Yeah, like what's
running
going
into
on?
the median. What just happened?
But yeah, the deadened ball, and also the thing with the deadened ball is they're not going to know when it goes into circulation, I guess, because the pitchers are probably going to know because they're handling the ball more. And obviously, once they're in the outfield and the infielders, when you're playing defense, you're going to
notice the difference.
Be able to notice a difference. Yeah. It's supposed to be, put in circulation, but will you have a deadened ball in every game? Is that the goal? It'll make things interesting, I guess.
Right. I mean, will the umpires know? They'll just be given a group of balls and they'll just throw them in because they go in every.
Yeah. How would they know? So,
And will that be
I
the
don't,
ball? I guess we'll start seeing if they know they have the pitchers will be like, if they know they have a lively ball, they'll be like, nah, there's something wrong with this one.
yeah.
Until
Well,
they
and I,
until they use up all the deadened balls.
yeah, they'll have to conserve those.
So that's one thing we'll see as the season goes, how deadening the ball has an effect. The one thing that they want to do is get more offense, more things happening, not home run, strikeout, that's it.
Yeah,
A lot of standing around, which, let's be honest, there's always been a lot of standing around in baseball.
true.
All right, so the deadened ball is the one thing that we know we'll see or could see the impact of on a game by game basis in the majors. Now we go to the exploratory. This is the MLB rover Manfreded.
So in AAA, the big thing there is the bases are going to go from 15 inches to 18 inches. They
Right,
have
square
bigger
inches.
bases. Yeah, square inches. So some of it is a little bit more room for the first baseman to put his, foot there and not get stepped on, I guess. Maybe more stolen bases.
I think that's what their bigger
Yeah, I
thing is.
think that is really the bigger thing.
But what happens when, as a AAA player, you get used to that? You're stealing the bases, and then you go to the majors, and you don't have that anymore. Is that little bit of a difference going to make a big difference? From the safety standpoint that they were saying, like especially at first base, had been a former first baseman, nobody ever stepped on me.
Yeah,
Because I was smart enough not to put my foot in the middle of the bag. They can have the top of the bag. I get the side of the bag.
right.
And I know
Well,
sometimes it happens that you're running and there's a lot going on. And so you lose and you step wrong.
I mean, look at last year. Pablo Sandoval, the panda,
Uh-huh.
he fell on Chris Taylor at
That,
first base. And
the
Chris
bigger
Taylor was
bag wasn't
okay.
going to help that.
No,
No, it was his big giant bag that almost crushed.
Chris Taylor. That's right. CT3. And he's still around to this day playing baseball.
Yes, he is.
And he didn't need a 18-inch bag.
No, I believe that they think that
Mm-mm.
doing that will get more people running. But what I want to know is it the bag size or is it the way that they're playing? And I've said this. I think I probably said this during the season last year. We're a feast or famine country as it is. We don't have a lot of in the middle where we compromise out and go, okay, yeah, we don't kind of do this. We go to one side or far the other side. There's nothing in between hardly. And we do this individually. I know
Yeah.
that we're all guilty of it, but I think that's what's happening with baseball is we went all the way to analytics. And if you remember from like Moneyball, we're not stealing bases. I don't pay you to steal bases. I think is Brad Pitt's line in there at some point,
Yeah.
because that doesn't help us. We want to put runs across the plate, but we need a lot of people on board. And if you get thrown out at second, it doesn't help us.
I think what really happened is that they went with a new manufacturer, and that new manufacturer only makes 18-inch bases. Sorry, we
So we
can't
got to
do
use them
less
until we
than that.
run through these.
That's right.
Just the way
That's
it's
the
gonna be.
contract.
If I go back, how is it that the base stealers of old,
Yeah, Ricky Henderson.
Ricky Henderson alone, how did he do all that? Lou
Yeah.
Brock,
Yeah.
Davey Lopes.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these guys who were speedsters on the base paths, and you think about the incredible amount of stuff that why aren't we going to Ricky Henderson and using him as a model as to how to run the bases? He got on base and then he made teams pay for letting him be on base. None of that's happening. Now
Yeah.
we're going to get on base and I'm going to hit home run so you can come in.
Yeah. And last year, Mookie Betts, and then we did see him steal and get free tacos for everyone.
Right. Well,
But you don't
he
see
told
it.
when it was important. He knew
Yeah,
what to do.
exactly. He knew what to do. But I mean, you don't see that as often, those guys that, and that's exciting. That's an exciting part of baseball is when the runner steals that base. So
Well, or
why?
they
Yeah.
get thrown out on a close
Yeah.
play like that. Those are the things that, yes, they want them to happen, but I don't think changing the size of the base is what makes it. It's how you train your guys to play.
Yeah, exactly. I don't, it just is silly to me. But I hope to go to some minor league games this year. So I'll report back.
Yeah,
And
I'm gonna try that too. But once again, where I live, there's gonna be people who are gonna go there that never went to a single A ball club's games because we have a couple of them around. We have both the Dodgers and Angels have what's now their low A club with all the
right.
changes in minor leagues in Rancho Cucamonga for the Dodgers and San Bernardino for the Angels. And I don't even know how that's going to work if that's an alternate training site.
Right. Yeah.
So, not sure all the details. So,
But I
yeah, I'd
tell
like to
you,
see some of that too. I would be seeing things in the low A, and we'll get to that in a second. You would be seeing that with the big bags of AAA there with the isotopes.
yeah.
Um, Now, if
And
we had double
uh,
A's,
well, double A, you talked about it earlier. They're getting rid of the shift. So the rule is that the defensive team must have 4 players in the infield, and each player must have both feet in the dirt within the outer boundary of the infield. So,
wait,
I
what?
mean, yeah, exactly.
Okay,
So
wait, because now all of a
four
sudden I
players
feel
in the
like I'm in
infield.
geometry
Yes. So, what is the angle of the 4 players?
and the
But if
volume
you,
of
yeah,
the
uh, I'm going to read it. So, the defensive team must have 4 players in the infield, and each must have both feet in the dirt within the outer boundary of the infield. So, you couldn't have somebody like your third baseman or second, in the grass, but you could still have a shift. They would just be in the dirt. But I don't know how well that works.
right.
But
So you could have, yeah, I get it, because
I mean,
you
you
have
still
you have your
could.
first baseman is going to be your first baseman, second
Yeah.
baseman, mover, or your third baseman. Like how many times did Justin Turner come over to play second base, essentially?
Right.
But he
Yes.
can't be on the grass. He has to be on the field. So,
Yeah.
okay.
So,
Well, I
I
mean,
mean,
but
it could
everybody's
be
got to
like
be
in
enclosed. It can't
soccer.
be like a fourth outfielder.
Yeah, it could be like in soccer where they have the guys in front of the net. And if they're like, okay, this guy, hits this way, we're just going to stand in front of the,
Right on
you know,
on the free kicks or
on
whatever,
the freaky, yeah, the
penalty
penalty
kicks or
kicks or
whatever.
whatever. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't,
See, if we're doing something that you can say, well, like in soccer, then that
then
means it's dumb. Don't do
and
it.
exactly.
It's
It's been
good in soccer,
Manfreded.
not in baseball.
Yeah. Because,
I see. I think he's thinking soccer is the most popular game in the world. It's because soccer's easy to play with one or two people.
right.
Just like playing basketball. You can go out all by yourself and kick the ball into a goal all day or shoot baskets by yourself all day.
Yeah. Right. And again, why do we need to get rid of the shift? If we're talking strategies, that's the strategy. And then, like you said earlier, it's up to the hitter to figure out, do you hit over or do you hit, if they're here, you hit opposite of where they are?
In
Learning all of that. Yeah.
If you want to look at other sports and defense, look at every one of them. They have a defensive scheme, football, basketball. What do they do? You've got one guy on the court who is top scorer.
Yep.
you can do two different things. You can go right after him and try to stop that score. Talking about Elgin Baylor earlier, he scored 70 points in a game. First time that was ever done. But any of those guys scoring those points, you go right at him and you stop him from scoring and make the other people score. Or you don't worry about him, let him score 70 in a game, and you block off everybody else. So that way he's carrying the load. You score as many as you can, and you beat them because you made them, unless they adapt to you. So the defense rules the game.
Yeah.
A defensive scheme in football, same thing in baseball. The shift is a defensive scheme. You move people over wherever, whether they're on the dirt or whether one's in the grass or whatever. The players, that's why they continue to just say, well, we got to hit it over.
Right.
That's why they started pushing one guy out into the field, to be more of a fourth outfielder. Now, learn how to hit the other way.
Yeah.
Find the gap.
And what happens if one of these players, if they don't have their foot in the, maybe they have their part of their heel in the grass? Is that what happens?
Right. They
then?
just had like the back end of their cleat is on there. It's like in basketball where you're on the baseline and you go to throw it in and you've got your foot on it, then turnover.
Yeah.
Sorry, everybody's out. You guys, turned it over, or they get an extra out. How does that work?
Yeah. It's dumb.
In some of this other stuff we're going to talk about, we see what the penalty is for doing that. Maybe that's what they do. They bring a goal out and a soccer ball, and they get to do a penalty kick.
Yes.
The other team, and if they score one, then that's a run.
Yeah. It's
Well, why aren't we running baseball?
I don't know. I ask myself that every day.
All right, so that's going to be just going on in AA only. All of AA will have that issue there.
Yep.
Let's look at high A. We're going to get into pitchers now. And another thing, this is more of a pace of play kind of thing, I think. And like base stealing, things like that, excitement level. So
this rule reminds me of School of Rock, and when the kid wrote the song, step off. It's a step off rule. That's what it reminded me of. So this change is aimed at increasing the number of stolen base attempts and maybe having a better success rate by forcing pitchers to fully step off the rubber before attempting a pickoff. Snap throws followed by the step off are prohibited. And this rule was, it was tested in the Atlantic League in 2019. And they said that the runners were a little bit more ambitious with their leads. And I guess I don't know how many stolen bases happened in the Atlantic League in 2019. If a pitcher is mindful of the running game, you have some pitchers that don't even bother with the runners. Right. They just let them go. Like Kenley Jansen is a good example of that. He'll let them, okay, take second. So are the pitchers going to throw, say, more fastballs than they normally would? Right.
It would change up pitch selection if you have somebody you're sure is a threat.
Yeah.
And also, when would you throw over? At what point?
Right.
Because the player's going to know if you only have a certain attempt or you have to do it a certain way, how that works.
Yeah. And I think on the third attempt, I don't know if it was high A. I think it's a third attempt. It's a balk.
If they don't pick them off, right?
If they don't pick them off. Yeah.
I don't remember because there's in high A, there's the pitcher must step off the rubber to attempt the pickoff. And then in low A, they have a limit of 2 attempts per plate appearance. So
right.
they can throw over twice per batter.
Yeah.
And on the third one, if they don't pick them off, then it's a balk.
Yeah.
Whereas or they get to move up second base. So the runners will be more ambitious because now they know they have a spot. It's like, playing a game. You play a video game, let's say, and you watch it enough, that when a pendulum swings up, that you can go 1-2, boom, and then it's not going to come down that fast. They're going to know then at this point, or they're going to push it so that way they get 3 throws.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, that's going to be a lot of strategy, blah, blah, blah. But I don't know that there's a lot of strategy. There's a little bit of strategy at some point, but at another point, it just becomes something else that bogs down the game.
Yeah.
I agree that somebody thrown over 5 and 6 times, at some point, you got to realize if they're going to go, they're going to go. You just need to take care of the runner. And that I get, but trying to break down and like snap throws and deceptive windups that can give you a little bit of an edge. Why not? Now I got to stop. What's going to happen? Now, after this, we found it's better if the pitcher comes off the mound and runs halfway to first and then underhands the ball.
And is balking like a chicken. Oh, never mind.
Right. And then acting
bolt.
like he's about to kick a goal in a soccer game.
That's right. We just make it a circus. So
yes.
That's going to happen.
Oh,
that'll
be even better. You have to be like the elephant on the ball that they remember this balancing on a ball.
Yes.
Now
so
in
high A and low A, those step off. That's what every time I think of that is just the School of Rock. Step off.
High A's got the step off.
And you have to say that.
Oh, he has to do. Yeah. Is it like Uno?
Right.
Right. I gotta let everybody know. I only got one card. I gotta let you know. Hey, here it comes.
Which could be disorienting, maybe for the runner. I don't know.
Well, and then what do you do if you have like one of the players that doesn't speak English? Shohei Ohtani's going to yell "step off" in Japanese. If you don't know it, you don't know what he's yelling. It becomes a benefit.
An insult. Yeah.
What'd you say to me?
Yeah. Then there'd be more. I don't know.
We could get a little more emotion in the game.
Yeah. Right. More fights like in hockey.
A real quick, easy one, 15-second pitch clock in low A West. So that'll just happen out here. So I would see that.
Yep.
Which isn't going to be that big of a deal. And they've been doing pitch clocks, of varying degrees to keep things moving. I'm okay with that. It's a little weird, but a lot of these pitchers take forever. You can watch when I've gone from spring training game to spring training game, or better yet, watch some of these old games and you see the pitchers, they went through an inning in no time.
Right.
Because they're not fooling around. They're not taking a nap between every pitch or, it takes so long. And then other times it's just forever for them to get through. They do need to move a little quicker. I get their strategy at times when you stand there and you take a little extra time, but it's like throwing to first base. You're not going to do it every single time. So stop giving everybody time to just sit around. I mean, I can go in and make 2 sandwiches in the time it takes to make one pitch.
Yeah. And so, in low A West only, as you mentioned, they're going to add timers to enforce the time between pitches, inning breaks, and pitching changes. And the other thing I've heard too is I've heard people complain about the guy has just come out of the bullpen. He's been throwing. So when he gets on the mound, why does he need to throw 6 more times?
Acclimation.
Yeah.
Because the mound in the bullpen is different than the playing mound.
Yeah. Well,
that's my thought. I don't know.
It doesn't bother me. It's just part of the, hey, you're in the game. You get a little bit of a warm up, but it's something that I've seen, here and there. People just complaining to complain.
I would think that maybe by doing that, you give the other team a chance to see you
True. I noticed too, there are some pitchers that will take, I don't know how many pitches they get. So I don't know if there's a set number, but I've noticed there are some pitchers that'll, toss in 2 balls and then that's it. They're ready to go. And then you have others that are, doing 6 pitches or, or more. So 5 or more in that case. And then with the pitching changes too, sometimes, these guys, you have some that run out really fast from the bullpen, and because they don't have the, the golf carts anymore that bring them out. So.
Right. But I think the golf carts took longer than just them
probably.
Because
so.
that became like a parade, the pageantry of.
Yeah. Yeah. And
All
in
right.
low A, Southeast only, select games will use the robo umpire.
Which so far, the one person I've seen come out against this is Joe Madden. He believes it takes away the emotion in the game, which is right, that human element that we've had. How many years of baseball? Over 150?
Yeah.
And now we've decided, we've always said this, we're all going to lose our jobs less to automation and then to some other force. When they can figure out how to get, a robot to do your job, that's cheaper than even the cheapest labor. Now we're getting ready to take something out of, there's still going to be umpires there. The umpires have to be there because what if you bounce one up, but it bounces right in front and goes across through zone? The robot doesn't know that it bounced first.
Yeah. And what if the robot's glitching out that day? What?
Right.
So I am not a fan of the automatic ball strike system with the robo. And I think I totally agree with Joe Madden. It takes, baseball is, all sports, but it's baseball especially, it's emotional. And if you think a ball was, a strike or vice versa, all of that's gone because you've got the umpire with, their earpiece in, and it's okay, that was strike. Okay, that was a ball. And they're just standing there. It's boring. Why do we have to, why are we automating baseball?
Right. We already have the instant replays.
Right.
The robo-umps, let them keep it in the Atlantic League. Let them do all of the stuff down in Miami.
Yeah, that
the
sounds good.
Marlins can have every single one of these things. Give them bigger bases. So when you go to Miami, you get a chance to step off, to have the robo-ump, to have all those things, all in Miami. Just that's the one place that they have it all.
Yeah.
Or just the Atlantic League.
Or it's like, it would be like the Bermuda Triangle of baseball.
And then, speaking of the Atlantic League, if they have any other Manfreded ideas, they're going to try those. Those haven't been announced yet, but those will be tried in the experimental league. Ours, baseball, looking better all the time.
We gotta get rid of him. We need somebody who loves baseball, loves the sport.
It's time for Dodger baseball.
All right, before we get into the comings and goings of the Dodgers this past offseason, want to take a quick second because it happened while we were off. I don't think we need a moment of silence per se, but we lost 2 Dodger legends, Don Sutton being one, and the bigger one, the greatest Dodger of them all, Tommy Lasorda.
Yeah, Tommy Lasorda is. We knew he had, was sick. He was in Texas to see the Dodgers win the World Series. Earl Hershiser had told a story just a couple of days ago, I think during a spring training game, that he wanted to hold on until the Dodgers won the World Series. So that was a tough one for me. I, grew up watching Tommy Lasorda in the dugout. That his the way he managed, but his big personality is why the term that our dad used, when you could read somebody's lips and see what they were saying, motivational buzzwords, that was Tommy Lasorda. And that was a huge loss. I have to say, I just bawled. 2 days, it was like I lost my grandpa. That's how I felt, because he was such a big part of growing up for me.
And while
even now, I'm getting kind of teary-eyed.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
Do you need a second?
No, I'm okay. I just love Tommy. He's just, he's it, and when you grow up with watching him, and he always, from the time I remember watching the Dodgers, he was always there. And so, yeah, big loss for the Dodgers, but we know he's with the big Dodger in the sky.
It's cool that he got to see one more. He got to see 2 from the bench.
Yeah.
As the manager, and then one more. So farewell to Tommy, and of course Don Sutton, who was the Dodger pitcher my very first Dodger game.
Wow, I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah, if you would have known that had you read my 9-inning know-it-all what baseball means to me.
Well, I did read it, but I blocked it out of my mind, obviously, which I will say you did a great job on that. I don't know if I ever told you or texted you about it, but you did a great job. But yeah.
Thank you. Yours as well.
Thank you.
Go to our website, siblingrivalrybb.com, and on the first page, there's a link to both of we were invited by the 9-inning know-it-all site, and to do this blog post about what baseball means to me, and we each did our own. And you can go there and click on the link, and it'll take you to their great site. They've got a lot of cool stuff on their site as well, and see what baseball means to each of us, if you haven't figured it out already.
Yeah, right. And I was going to say, obviously, I need to work on my comprehension skills, since I didn't remember.
Is that comprehension or retention?
Retention, not comprehension. I comprehended it.
Now we know comprehension and retention.
Yeah, because I don't know what's what.
I didn't comprehend what I needed to retain.
That's right. But,
well, here's what you need to know. The Dodgers didn't retain a few guys.
Yeah.
And they only really picked up a couple of guys. So before we get to the whole big thing of who they picked up, who did they let loose?
Well, there's no more Jocelyn. Jocelyn is a Cub. So how are we going to text each other and say, Jocelyn?
Whenever he hits home runs against the Dodgers?
I guess, but I'll write it in lower caps. No exclamation
with a frowny
point.
Face.
Yes. Poop emoji. I don't know.
Yep, so, he's gone, and his buddy, a guy. I always put these guys as a pair for some reason, but off to the land of the Green Monster, Kike Hernandez is now a Red Sox.
Yeah. And that one, we knew that. I was really hoping that the Dodgers would sign him. Has always been a big part, plays everywhere, except for catcher when he played for the Dodgers.
He could have.
He could have. But I think with the Red Sox, he's going to have more playing time, maybe a more solid position. So, and I will say, Jocelyn made a comment over during kind of the early part of spring training where he said he felt a bit restricted by the Dodgers' use of analytics. And he's probably talking about how, his hitting and when did he play and that kind of thing.
I think he has a good argument.
Yeah.
Because look at what happened with Cody. Cody he was going to be another one of those that probably would have spent a lot of time being platooned. And finally they let him loose, started hitting against both pitchers, both sides.
Yeah.
And I don't remember, how did that turn out?
Well, rookie of the year. It's MVP,
MVP was the
MVP. I
yeah,
know. I got that one.
because he and it came from when they stopped doing so much platooning. Look what happened.
Yeah.
These guys developed into to more all-around players, and you ended up with a championship.
Yeah. Well, and you saw that really, in the infield, there were times in that 2017 in those early seasons, 2017 and even before. But I'm thinking where they went to the World Series 2017, 2018, it wasn't cohesive because you always had people at different spots all the time. And to me, the infield, you need to know, if I'm going to throw to this guy, he's going to, it's automatic. You don't even have to look, kind of thing. And there wasn't that cohesiveness. So, yeah, I think Jock Peterson is going to have. I hope he has a good season with the Cubs. It was kind of odd because he signed with the Cubs, and Kyle Schwarber went to the Nationals, so they just kind of changed. So Jocelyn's taken over that, so he should be playing, I would think, almost every day.
Right. Yeah, and I think he will have that opportunity.
Yeah.
So that'll be good. Him gone. Kike, of course, will get more playing, but Kike played almost every day because
Yeah,
you
he
didn't
did.
have a solid second baseman,
Right.
or one that you could trust.
Yes.
The idea that of what Gavin Lux can be wasn't coming through. So Kike was playing, and those are two guys though that weren't just fan favorites because they were big personalities or fun to be around, is because they really contributed. 31 home runs from Jock playing part-time.
Yeah.
That's, you'd almost wonder if he played full-time, would he hit 62?
Well, yeah, and you saw him in the home run derby and saw that power that he had there. And then, of course, in the postseason, he was always really big. And Kike, yeah, like you said, he played almost every day. So, yeah, so I'm sad to see them, not be in Dodger blue this season. But I wish them, well, and think that, it's probably good moves for them. The other move was Pedro Baez went to the Astros.
No,
Like,
to
of
the
all
Cheatstros.
teams. Yeah. He signed
Which
a 2-year, $12.5 million contract with them.
what
So,
just since he went to the Astros, the Asterix,
right.
what was it you sent me the other day?
Yeah. So the Astros were playing the Marlins, and a member of the ballpark security team at Roger Dean Stadium, where the Marlins play, he, during Alex Bregman's plate appearance, he banged on a trash can before every pitch. And Bregman struck out looking. So that was an excellent story. He had a shirt that said security across the back, so we're assuming he was official, but he grabbed a trash can and was banging it.
That'll be one of the great things this season, is that there'll actually be fans to harass the Asterix, the Cheatstros.
That's right. That'll be fun to see. How will that work?
A consistent part of the bullpen gone there. Another guy who's been around with the Dodgers and had some success last year, out of there to the hated Giants, Alex Wood.
Right. Yep,
signed
Alex
over there.
Wood.
Caleb Ferguson lost to Tommy John surgery for this season. Not sure if I really cared that much. I mean, I feel bad for him, but I'm not sure that it affects how I feel about the bullpen.
Right. I don't. I mean, he's shown he's shown a lot of growth. So hopefully as he's, rehabbing, he'll just get better. He'll come back better, but we're not going to be missing him. I don't mean, I don't mean that in a bad way, but
two
his
other guys
arm.
though, that we could miss a little bit depending on what happens with those pieces that are in the bullpen. Dylan Floro off to Miami to play in front of 7 people.
Yeah, this one disappointed me because I like Dylan Floro. He always did a really good job for the Dodgers, pitched well. And he was left off. He was on the World Series roster, but I think he was left off on the playoff rosters, which was a surprise and I think irritated him. And
he was off of the NLCS, I think.
That's right. Yeah. So yeah, to lose him, he was a good arm coming out of the bullpen.
And then Adam Kolarek is now in Oakland A. Another trade.
Another one.
That was one of the things in trades didn't really pick up. We got more minor leaguers and potential talent. Didn't really give up a lot or didn't get a lot back necessarily for what we gave up. And we'll see. Those guys may go on to not pitch very well at all. Who knows? Adam Kolarek, I kind of got from the standpoint that he was a lefty specialist.
Mm-hmm.
And with the 3 hitter rule, which is still in effect, that may have played part of it. I don't know. He still got to pitch, even there. And he was pretty consistent, I felt. Now, with that, we did get Corey Knebel from Milwaukee in a trade. And then we signed Tommy Conley, free agent, who's not going to pitch this year. Is that right? He's recovering from Tommy John? Yeah.
So that was a odd sign to me. Like, why are we signing this guy? But yeah, he's in recovery. So
we'll basically get maybe one season out of him because he'll be out all this season. Got a 2-year deal.
Well, and we had signed Jimmy Nelson last year, and then he was out the whole season with a back injury. He was invited to spring training on a minor league contract, but he actually has pitched well, so he could be moving into that spot.
Yeah, next week we'll talk all about the opening day roster, who's in there, who's not, what do we think is going to happen with that. And the Dodgers pitching, still really good. It got better, and we'll talk about that in a second. But, how does the bullpen come into play? Who's going to be in there? And it's going to be real interesting because they've got a lot of decisions to make, not only in the bullpen, but even how they work out their starting 5 or 8 or 12, for that matter.
12, yeah.
Talking about the bullpen, though, we do have Blake Trinan back. They did re-sign him. He was a free agent.
Yeah, I was happy to see that.
And of course, as far as the Dodgers go, the biggest free agent they re-signed in Justin Turner.
Yeah, that was a big one. There were a lot of people sweating that one because it happened really close to, wasn't everybody thought, oh yeah, it's a given. But then you started hearing rumors. The Mets might be interested in getting him back, and maybe the Brewers.
Right. Milwaukee was, I heard a lot there at the end.
Yeah.
I don't think
Blue
JT wanted to
Jays.
go anywhere. Blue Jays, yeah. And which is funny because nobody would have thought the Blue Jays.
No.
Because of all of what they have. But Vladdy Jr. is going to be playing first base, it looks like. So they could have used him. They brought in Marcus Semien to play short there. And we'll get to what happened around the league when we get to around the league. But the biggest signing of them all was not only the biggest thing for the Dodgers, but it was the biggest free agent signing of the offseason, of the hot stove. And that was the arrival of Trevor Bauer.
Yes.
To the Dodgers.
I did not know where he was going to end up. And it was getting to the point, it was like, just pick a team and wherever you go, great. And then you called me, video called me, which is like, okay, normally you just text me. And I was like, is
Oh,
this an
what's wrong?
accident? Yeah, or something happened. And you said, Trevor Bauer just signed with the Dodgers. And then I turned on, the
You
TV
were
and
like,
got
no
the
way.
scoop. Yeah, but I thought that he did not, but he did. And 3 years, $102 million. And, he's one of those players that I guess you either love him or you hate him. I think he's a cool guy. He's a really interesting player because he does a lot of talk about analytics, but it's just the way the ball moves and all of those things. He's analyzing all of that and pitching with one eye closed. Just so
But yeah,
uh,
he's got into it. He's passionate about pitching. And I
yes,
think that if he wasn't that good of a pitcher, he'd still want to teach people how to get there, show the techniques. And the one thing that we did, I know right after he signed, there was all this stuff that came out because there were a lot of people who didn't think that was a good sign. They were like, why did you do this, Dodgers? This is a bad guy.
yeah,
And I get the idea, the culture that we're in now, that people are looked at differently when they say stuff they've done before, but we forget to look at people and see, is this who they are? Something they did 5 years ago, is that who they are now? Are they not allowed to change, evolve, grow into somebody else, to be a better person, to learn from the past mistakes? Well, if you read what I read anyway, and this is my personal opinion, is that here's a guy that unless everything being written, unless he's scamming everybody, it seems as though he's a guy who's in perpetual growth in his pitching. So professionally, he's growing. Personally, he's growing. There's things and stuff that he said and did years ago that he's not now. And you can hear it in how he talks. You see it in his actions. And it's like, we got to give everybody this break. There's people that are the same. Somebody said something 10 years ago. They're still saying it now. You can hold that. Somebody else, when you look back and go, oh, he said this or he did this, and then you look at them now and they're not doing those things. And he seems to be that guy, one
yeah,
of those guys. And maybe it's all because he loves pitching so much. He's trying to put himself out there. He's trying to build his own brand. He's trying to do a lot of stuff. And I think it's easy to stumble when you're trying to do too much. But he's showing, as far as the Dodgers go, he's going to be a big key to that pitching staff, which has made it really hard on, he's going to be in there. But now what happens at the back end?
yeah,
And he's not even
exactly.
scheduled to be the number one starter. He's
No.
like at number 3 or
Mm,
4.
yeah, 3 or 4. We're not quite sure where he's going to end up. Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think we as a society need to live in the present because we always look back. And I mean, you learn from your mistakes, you learn from that. And like you said, it's growth. And that's important. And I do see from actions. I mean, think about he really wanted to sign with the Dodgers, but then there was the mishap with the Mets, and there was some a promotion. It looked like he was going to sign with the Mets, and he was like, "Well, I'm just going to sign with the Mets because I, I don't want to do that to their fans."
Right.
And then he came to his senses and signed with the right team. But
Took a walk, I think he said.
he
And
took a walk, right? But I think that shows some growth. And I don't think you can look back and say, oh, what he did, because there are a lot of stories about, oh, he didn't fit in when he was with the Diamondbacks for the short amount of time he was there. But how old was he? There's a lot of there's people grow, people change, and I see that in him. So I think he's going to be, and has already shown in spring training, that he's a good addition to the team. Now, one of the other players or pitchers that we have back is David Price. David Price is back. He didn't play last season. He opted out. So where does he come in? And he has already said, I'll pitch a starter if you want me to be a starter. If you want me out of the bullpen, where do you want me? I'll be there. So, Clayton Kershaw is the number one. He's going to be the opening day starter for the ninth time. But then Walker Buehler, and then who? And then you got Dustin May, Tony Gonsolin, Julio Urias. Where are these guys all going to go?
Right. The nice thing for them is that those last three guys that you just mentioned all know how to pitch out of the pen.
Right.
So the Dodgers will be exciting. That pitching, I think we pretty much know what the defense and offense looks like. It's going to be, how does that pitching staff round out? And we'll talk all about that and our picks for the Dodgers and our way too early picks for the season next week on opening day.
Yeah. And one thing that still, I'm sure people get tired of it, is second base. I still think second base is a question mark for me. I know, again, Dave Roberts has given the runway for Gavin Lux to just do his thing. He's hit really well in spring training, but defensively, some games I've not so great. I mean, so he's still lacking there. So it's like, do you need offense? Do you need defense? And you really do need the defense at second base. So, who's going to be there? Is he going to be a starting, the starting second baseman? Is it going to be Zach McKinstry, who's looked really well this spring training? So, yeah, we'll talk about that next, in our second episode. And I know he wore number 9 last year, but I overlooked it. And now that is my number. And it's a torture to see him wearing number 9. But
yeah, he should be wearing like 63.
Yeah.
Seems like a number 63.
Yeah.
Or maybe you could get Zach McKinstry, who's wearing number 8, to swap with him.
Yeah.
Because you like work. Zach.
I do. I like Zach.
Yes. Another change that needs to happen, and if you check out our Twitter feed and our Instagram and Facebook, you would have caught this. We had a little poll up because we felt that it's time for Will Smith to get a new Will Smith walk-up song. He's been going with the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air since he came up, so 2 seasons worth. He needs something new. So we put up a poll, and overwhelming response to our polls. And we got a winner though of the 3. What do we have? Wild West,
Born to Reign,
and How the Beat Goes.
Yep.
And we suggested to Will Smith that his new Will Smith walk-up song should be, based on the poll results, How the Beat Goes.
And we also mentioned this on Twitter to DJ Severe, who is the official Dodger DJ, and we got a maybe. So,
and a fist bump.
That's right.
And the maybe wasn't like one of those, I don't know, kind of maybe. It was like, maybe. Yeah, it was like a very positive maybe.
Yeah, so I'm looking
if you want to see it,
hearing that.
Head over to our Twitter, Sibling. We're at Sibling Rivalry BB without the A, and check out and just go through. You'll find it. It's got his response. It goes with the poll there that we had. So, yeah, Will Smith. So hopefully during the season, maybe I'll get a chance to go to opening day.
Yeah,
and I'll hear him play that.
That would be awesome. I will say Will Smith said that his wife wants him to change it. And I will just say to Will Smith, we also want you to change it. And we have the perfect song.
Yeah, we picked one for you. And you still get to have a Will Smith song.
Yeah. I think that's that connection.
Changes are afoot in the Dodger organization. All right, the story is always the same in the offseason with the Angels. We need pitching. Lots of pitching. And then they say, well, but we need to pick up somebody from here. And of course, if you get an outfielder or an infielder, it was like, we didn't need an outfielder or an infielder. We needed a pitcher. And of course, as the season was coming to an end and we were getting ready for the hot stove to fire up, who was number one on everybody's list to get Trevor Bauer?
The Angels.
It was a Los Angeles team. Yeah, it just wasn't the team he ended up with.
Yeah, it was the Angels.
They figured, everybody thought that the Angels were going to be the team he was going to get. Now, reading more about Trevor Bauer, and as it went later on, you realize Trevor Bauer was not going to come to the Angels. And it's not because he had anything against the team, and maybe even considered it. But the Angels are not at that point like the Dodgers are. He wants to play for a championship. The Dodgers are right there. They bring almost everybody back, so they're in a good spot. This spring, the Angels have shown offensively they can be a force to be reckoned with. On the mound, he would have been carrying everything. And who's to say what we would have gotten had they paid for him? But every other big pitcher, a trade for when Blake Snell sounded like he was available. Angels, Marcus Stroman before he accepted his offer from the Mets to stay there, the qualifying offer.
Yep.
Angels, everybody. I think one of the few players that moved this offseason that didn't get connected to the Angels was like Yu Darvish.
Yeah, I think he was the only one. But I have a question for you. There's a song. It's in the 80s. There was a group called Moving Pictures. And they had a song called What About Me? And I always think, is that how you feel as an Angels fan? What about me? It isn't fair. I've had enough, and I want my share. Can't you see? I want to live.
You've been rehearsing that?
Yeah, I heard it on 80s at 8, and I'm like, I'm using that. In fact, I have it on my playlist. I like that song.
Yeah, that's a good one. I remember as soon as you said Moving Pictures, I knew.
Yeah.
Yes, to me that is a great Rush album, but no, that's you're right. As Angel fans, we do think that. What's it going to take for us to ever be in? And I'm less frustrated with them now than I was. But last year I was fine with them signing Julio Teheran because of who he was and what it was. And I think Julio, who's having a good spring, I don't remember where he signed, but he's having a good spring where he's at, probably would have been better had he had a real regular season, or had spring training not been the start and the stop, had everything got canceled out before spring training started and they started spring training earlier and had a full ramp up. I think that was part of the problem for him. He may still have been not good last year, but the problem this year was we started out once again high on every big name.
Yep.
And we got no big name. None of them.
Yeah, there's a lot of trading with the with the Orioles, which, thinking about the Orioles, that's not really, you're like, is that who I want to trade with? Well, but
I
maybe.
Will tell you, and we'll get to that in a second, how something did work. So with the Angels, there weren't any, there was really one player of note that had good value that was a free agent. That wasn't just the 1 year like Julio Teheran. When you think about it, trading with the Orioles has worked out because the Angels announced their opening day starter was a former Oriole and a major surprise last year in Dylan Bundy. Dylan Bundy showed that his problem was pitching in Baltimore.
Yeah.
But the one guy that we lost that I think a lot of Angels fans had the season ended differently, would have felt differently about him is Andrelton Simmons.
Yeah.
people were kind of thrown off when he opted out of the last week of the season, or last 2 or 3 games, actually. And what a lot of people didn't know at the time, none of us knew, was his issue had to do with some mental health issues and depression, and that he couldn't, the Angels were going to have to go into quarantine, because at the time that happened, the Angels were still within a couple of games of going of a playoff spot.
Yeah.
And he just couldn't go into the quarantine the way that he felt mentally. And it felt like that was the end of his Angels career. And a lot of people were fine. Why did you do that? Come on, Andrelton. And then later all the stories came out, and I think people felt a little better for him, but I think that it was like, well, okay, you do what you got to do. We support you. If you come back, great. Then we get a new GM, Perry Manassian, who's supposed to be a different kind of thinker based on his grew up as a clubhouse attendant with his dad in Texas, has been with other teams, the Blue Jays, the Braves. He's got a whole different insight to everything. And then what does he do? He does stuff that looks like what Jerry DiPoto did, what Billy Epler did.
Yeah, maybe what happens is when they get a new GM, they already implants a chip, and it only allows them to, okay, these are the kind of players you sign. This is how much you can sign. And if it's a big player, then,
Sky's
you get shocked. Yeah, you get shocked or something.
Well, if it's if it's Anthony Rendon, if it's Albert Pujols, if it's Mike Trout, spend all you want.
But the pitchers.
But the pitchers, we're going to skimp.
Yeah,
and
got to count our pennies.
So they let Andrelton Simmons go. He was a free agent, and so they let him go. And at first you're like, well, what's going to happen? And Manassian's first thing out that I remember was to trade some prospects to the Orioles for their starting shortstop, Jose Iglesias. Okay, Jose Iglesias, $3 million a year. Andrelton Simmons would be more in the neighborhood of about $15 million a year.
Yeah.
So that made some sense. And now to see Jose Iglesias play throughout the spring, it was a great move. A good replacement at shortstop. We had him in a trade, and that was a good thing. So far, it looks good. So we let Andrelton Simmons go, as I said, and a lot of our bullpen was non-tendered. If they were free agents, they just were let go. And some of these guys have gone off to other places. We did, in another trade, pick up the other Iglesias brother, Rysel, I think is how you say his name. And he from Cincinnati in a trade, and he is a closer. So we got a solid back end piece, which we didn't really have one. So a lot of the guys were let go, and they're rebuilding. And in that, we picked up, a few others. Aaron Slegers, big tall guy from Tampa Bay, who doesn't throw very hard, but his size makes him imposing. He's got that. Pitcher wise, Alex Claudio, picked up from Milwaukee as a free agent. He's also a bullpen piece. We grabbed Kurt Suzuki, free agent, played with the Nats last year, to be a catcher. He's pretty solid. It's good because we have Max Stassi, who was coming off of an injury, who's looked good in spring so far now that he's back. But another experienced piece. But at that point, you're still saying, why do I need these guys? I don't have any pitching.
Right. Well, and then you got they traded with the Orioles for Alex Cobb, but in that trade, that means that Jahmai Jones
went
left
to the
Baltimore.
Thing is, though, I don't feel bad about that from Jam's perspective.
Yeah.
When I look at it from maybe his side, is that with the Angels, he was going to be playing behind David Fletcher.
Yeah.
Because once they signed Iglesias to play short, Fletcher was going to be locked in at second, because in the past we didn't have Anthony Rendon at third.
Yeah.
So Fletcher would have played a lot of places. Now he becomes more of the everyday second baseman because we have an everyday shortstop and everyday first baseman, or third baseman, and potentially a mostly everyday first baseman in Jared Walsh. But with that, you're looking at it. So we get Alex Cobb, and you're like, who?
Yeah.
And then you go back and you look through, and this is a guy who's had issues, injury issues his whole career. If you look through, he's constantly go through on MLB at Bat app or on .com, go through his personal transactions, rehab assignment, placed on IL, placed on IL, rehab assignment. He's always injured. We'll see how this plays out now. But what we're hoping for is another Dylan Bundy-esque, not a Julio Teheran, Trevor Cahill, Matt Harvey thing. And then we also grabbed Jose Quintana, who was with the Cubs. He pitched for the White Sox as well, so he's a Chicago guy. He played for Joe Madden in Chicago, won a ring with him. But once again, it's a 1-year deal. How does that work? How's this going to work? We didn't get any, there were other pitchers out there. Jake Odorizzi was still out there. Taijuan Walker still
he was out
there
for a long time. Yeah.
We didn't.
Well, you got Dexter Fowler. Well, he's not a pitcher.
Well, I hadn't got to him yet. However, I was okay with it just simply because we're not going to send Dexter. We traded for Dexter Fowler. Dexter Fowler's, maybe he'll be on the bench, but we're not going to send him down because he can't probably. But we're not going to get rid of him. We have to DFA him. What that meant to me was no Joe Adele. And Joe Adele is going to start the season in AAA. Joe Adele has a lot of issues defensively. He's looking better with the bat overall. The whole team looks a lot better with the bat. So overall, Dexter Fowler coming in a trade with St. Louis. Once again, we didn't give up that much for him. We traded for other people. And like everybody, if you go through all of the team's transactions, there's a lot of people invited to spring training. And there's a lot of players that are going to be sent off we have potentially 5 solid starters. Andrew Haney, Griffin Canning, and of course, Dylan Bundy is our ace and opener day. It's going to depend on what Alex Cobb and Jose Quintana do. Alex Claudio, who came to camp with some kind of a hip infection, which is weird. I didn't know what that was. He's finally playing and getting some time, so we'll see what happens there. He's a guy in the bullpen that could help because he's more of a veteran presence. Aaron Slegers, like I said, look good. So overall, the Angels look really good offensively. What's on the mound is going to determine whether or not they're in second or third, or if they can be solid offensively all season, no big slumps, and the pitching staff pitches average to above average, then they have a good chance at looking at the playoffs for the first time since 2014.
Yeah, that'll be, I've watched some Angels spring training games. Having Shohei Ohtani back is huge for the team. Mike Trout looks good. He said Trouty, that he finally, and it sounds funny because you're like, it's Mike Trout, but he says, I finally found my swing, or
I'm comfortable with my swing.
Yeah, it's comfortable with it. So
you've been in the top 5 of MVP voting every season of your career.
Yeah, it was an odd thing to read because I thought, were you never comfortable? I mean, obviously he wasn't, maybe a little comfortable It's like those doctors, when you go to the doctor and they ask you how you feel, and it's like frowny face,
Right. Where are
smiley
you on the
face.
spectrum here? Whatever.
On the spectrum. So he was, I don't know, every season he's like, I feel like this. But yeah, I hope that this season for the Angels is not what about me?
I'm going to tell you right now that if the Angels, with what they've done here, can't make it to the playoffs, I'm okay if they were able to work out something with Mike Trout for him to be traded somewhere where he can make it to the playoffs. And it would be nice to see him play and just see him play. Because now we watch and it's frustrating when he does great that nobody else is. And it's frustrating when he's struggling because a lot of that is that he's trying to do everything and that's having an effect.
Yeah.
And those are things I'd like to be able to just the joy of watching him play with no strings attached. If the Angels aren't going to do anything to help him out, let him go be a Yankee or a Philly or wherever he's going to end up.
And I think one of the things I was thinking about too is Joe Madden was, became manager last season of the Angels, but he didn't have that full season. And now he's had, over this season, he's been able to get to know these players, he has a really good baseball mind. And so now he's got a full spring training with these players. I think that there's going to be a different managing. I mean, it's still Joe Madden, but I think there's going to be some things different in the dugout, in the clubhouse from Joe Madden that will affect the team.
Well, we
hopefully
started
in a good way.
Yeah, we started seeing some of that at the end of last season. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been in a place to be even close to a playoff. I mean, I know like the Asterix had a losing record. They were the second place team. It was the A's who ran the West last year. But you started seeing this team coming together and picking up on the Joe Madden way. And I think that there's that possibility of doing that. So we'll see how the Angels go. No changes for their walk-up songs because honestly, I don't really remember what any of their walk-up songs are. The ATL is calling. No, not Atlanta. Around the league. And there were not a lot of big moves for the Angels or Dodgers other than Trevor Bauer was the biggest move. The Angels had a couple of moves that are looking to be big, but not in that huge earth-shattering move like Trevor Bauer was. But around the league, there were some things that happened that really ruled the day or even the week that they happened in. And we're going to start with the guys who started it all off. And somebody and a team that the Dodgers are going to have to contend with, who just made themselves a lot better, just like the Dodgers did. But the Dodgers only had to do one thing. These guys ended up making a lot more moves. And that would have been Slam Diego, the San Diego Padres. When you look at their team, you think, what really did they have to do? Because they look pretty solid, and it's just a matter of time building up. And obviously, Mike Clevenger, Tommy John surgery, he's not going to be around this season. So they needed to fill in his spot. Didn't really know how other pitchers were going to come back from injuries. Dinelson Lamet had issues in the playoffs and didn't pitch at all against the Dodgers in the playoffs. So you had that, but overall, obviously Fernando Tatis Jr., Manny Machado, you've got a solid team. Your favorite Trent Grisham.
Oh, yeah, he's still there.
Overall, the team that they had out there, Cronenworth. So you had a team that overall looked like that they were surging. And AJ Preller, their GM, said it's not enough. So what did they do? They went out and re-signed Jurickson Profar.
Yeah, that's a good. Well, I mean,
okay, that's not the earth-shattering move that I thought we were talking about. But
no.
What they also did was rob the Angels of Blake Snell. That was the first move. and I think shocked to everybody, was they went out. I think a lot of people, because Blake Snell pitched so well in the World Series in that Game 6, that people were surprised that the Rays let him go. So you thought, okay, well that's good. They fine that they bolstered their. We'll see how he is, and why not get the guy who controlled the Dodgers? Hope he can do that as many times as he can when he pitches against him. And then what? About a week later, they went and grabbed Yu Darvish from the Cubs.
Yep. Which I think I think Yu Darvish was surprised by that trade. That
Along with
he
everybody.
got traded, right? But
yeah,
like,
Blake Snell
okay,
kind of knew
he,
something was going to happen, but Yu Darvish thought, I'm a Cub.
Yeah.
No.
And he didn't have a bad, he had
No,
a
he
good
was,
season.
Cy Young
Yeah.
candidate.
Yeah. So I would be surprised too. So yeah, now they've got Blake Snell, Yu Darvish, in their starting
Nelson
lineup,
Lemon,
and then
Chris Paddock,
Yep.
who were there. And then they went to the Pirates for a trade and picked up Joe Musgrove, who was a trade candidate, had been rumored. Not at the level of those guys, but still somebody building up his career. And, we see it all the time. Players get to a team with a winning attitude and put themselves in a spot to get better. To add to their pitching staff in the bullpen, they went and picked up Keone Keela, who was with the Pirates last season and was a trade candidate. In fact, I was kind of hoping the Angels would go after him and sign him because we could have used him in the bullpen. So the Padres did a lot to bolster their pitching staff and made some little moves that will help them offensively. But they were a lot like the Dodgers in the sense that they have a lot of big bats, a lot of solid, consistent players. Cronenworth, can he overcome the sophomore jinx and be solid? They've got a good chemistry there, it seems. Jace Tingler really seems to be a good leader for that group. The next team probably on our list of big names with big moves would be the Mets.
Yeah, and this one is one where the Mets owner, Steve Cohen, he said he was going to spend. He had money and he has money. He's going to spend it. And this was a trade with Cleveland that brought Francisco Lindor to the Mets along with Carlos Carrasco. Yeah. Cookie. So you wonder, it's like, what is Cleveland doing trading Francisco Lindor? And I guess they're rebuilding, and I guess
I'm not real sure what's going on in Cleveland.
I don't.
There's a lot that
needs to
be explained.
It does.
And I'm wondering if like Jose Ramirez might end up being traded sometime towards the end of the season. Maybe they still have a decent team, and because they play in the Central, the Indians anyway, because they play in the Central, they have the Twins to deal with the White Sox, but there's still a chance, and they have the best pitcher in the American League.
Yeah, Shane Bieber.
Sorry, Garrett Cole, but it's the Biebs.
Yep, Bieber fever. Yeah, that was a big one. I think that Blake Snell, we knew Blake Snell was going to go somewhere. Yu Darvish, that was, I think, a bigger surprise, not only to us, but to him again. But this trade with the Mets sending Francisco Lindor, one of the better top shortstops in the game, to the Mets, and the owner really saying, okay, I'm going to spend money. And he did.
Yeah. And he wanted to spend more.
Yeah.
He was ready for Trevor Bauer to come there. They were all in on George Springer as well, who didn't show up there. One of the first signings before the trade, they signed James McCann. he was probably after JT Realmuto, who stayed in Philadelphia, he was number 2 in the rankings of free agent catchers.
Yeah.
And I was kind of hoping I would have been fine with JT Realmuto for the Angels, but I was okay with James. I would have liked James McCann as well, but nope. And then they picked up some others. They signed Taijuan Walker. Marcus Stroman signed the qualifying offer, so they kept him. So they really put themselves. The NL East is going to look much different this year, and the Mets look to lead it. The Phillies, like I said, they kept Real Muto, so there's that. And Bryce Harper's still there. Didi Gregorius re-signed in Philadelphia. So the East is going to look really good. Plus, the way that Miami looked during the season last year, their pitching staff could play in there, and at least I don't know how they'll play out, but there's that. And the Nationals, another team that made some changes, looked. Have really improved their spot. They need their pitchers like Max Scherzer, Steven Strasburg to stay healthy very well. So the East could be a hard place to play as far as winning the East, making the playoffs. It's going to be a battle. I think the biggest, there were surprise trades like Blake Snell, Yu Darvish, even Francisco Lindor was a little bit of a surprise because you thought it was going to happen. It seemed like it was going to happen, but you didn't really know if it would.
Right.
The one that probably wasn't a surprise other than where he went was Nolan Arenado.
Yeah. And I think everyone, if you knew that he had signed an 8-year extension with the Rockies, but he was not happy in Denver, not happy with the front office, just a lot, loved playing there, and he was the face of the Rockies, and they traded him to the Cardinals, and he's happy, I think, to be away from the Rockies. The Rockies, I don't know, you look at, they still have Charlie Blackmon. Charlie Blackmon has signed an extension there. So I think he becomes the face of the Rockies. But you wonder sometimes with the moves, and it probably was in the best interest of both parties for him to not be there.
It felt to me like the ownership there, when they signed the extension with him and gave him all of the money, it felt like shortly thereafter they started regretting all the money they invested in him. And this has nothing to do with COVID. This was being talked about before.
Yeah, this
like
has been
2 days after he signed it. I think they were already thinking about, they had buyer's remorse.
They really did. And so it's interesting to see what the Rockies do. How will they do this season? Spring training, not so great. But Trevor Story is going to be a free agent next year. Is he going to stay a Rocky? Are they going to just let him go like they've let others go? I
expect him to be traded before the end of the season.
Well, and
by trade deadline.
Yeah. And so you're looking at all these different pieces. They have Ian Desmond, who opted out last season, is, I guess, opting out this season. I think he just needs to retire. It's interesting, the dynamic. It's almost as they're imploding in Denver, which is a shame because the Rockies have, they have that potential to be somebody in the West, and instead, the fans, there were jokes because the Dodgers will be opening up on April 1st, opening day in Colorado, and they had first said there was going to be 12,500 tickets available. They since have increased that number. I think it'll be double that. But the jokes were, it'll all be Dodger fans because Rocky fans don't exist anymore. Where are they? Are they boycotting because Nolan's not there?
Nolan's not there.
When I got my first vaccine, and I had a shirt on that said I speak fluent baseball. And the guy asked me who's my team, and I said the Dodgers. And he said, "Oh, I can't give you a shot. I can't give it to you." I asked him, I said, "Well, what's your favorite team?" And I said, "If it's the Astros, then you're not giving me the shot." And he said, "No, it's the Rockies." And I said, "Oh, well, I'm sorry." But so we started talking, maybe the isotopes, they're closer to home for me, be able to see.
Well, that's like seeing the Rockies Major League team.
Pretty much. It really is. But
other than Trevor Story, which he might get injured and do a rehab stint.
He could. So, yeah, it's one of those trades where it was, I think, if you don't follow baseball or you're casual, then you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that the Rockies would trade Arenado. But for those of us who follow baseball 24/7, it was not a surprise.
Right. It wasn't as huge in that. They did do a couple of the Cardinals did do a couple of expected re-signings. Yadier Molina and Adam Wainwright both return, probably potentially for their final seasons. Couple others just to go through real quickly. The Brewers signed Jackie Bradley Jr. and Colton Wong. Jackie Bradley Jr., like one of the last bigger names to get signed.
Which that to me was a surprise because he's always been a solid player, and I thought somebody's got to get him. I would take Jackie Bradley Jr. Yeah, so good to see him signed with the team, with the Brewers. The White Sox, Liam Hendricks is there, and Lance Lynn.
They did well with their pitching staff as well. And they're another one of those teams. The stronger they get with their pitching staff, the better chance they're going to have to maybe make a World Series run because they have strong position players.
Yeah.
So the Nats we talked about earlier, they signed Brad Hand, another Indian that the Indians didn't go after. John Lester left the Cubs as a free agent, went there. Kyle Schwarber was non-tendered and ended up with the Nats. And then Josh Bell was traded to the Nats from the Pirates. So they got a couple of decent pitchers and then a couple of good bats. I think the biggest surprise overall would have been if DJ LeMahieu had signed anywhere but the Yankees.
Yeah, which I know a lot of people were hoping that he would sign somewhere else.
I would have loved for him to come here. I think I even wrote something and said DJ LeMahieu didn't I post on our website?
The Angels.
Yeah, DJ LeMahieu be our second baseman.
Right.
They also grabbed Corey Kluber, add to their pitching staff. They got a couple other pitchers, but Corey Kluber probably the biggest name to add in there with Garrett Cole. Adam Benintendi traded from the Red Sox to the Royals. Yeah. We talked about it earlier. Marcell Ozuna re-signs with the Braves. The Braves also bolstered their pitching staff, added in with Max Fried.
Charlie Morton. Yeah.
The Twins re-signed Nelson Cruz, and this is the new home of Andrelton Simmons. One of the other teams that was out there, they were in the running for Trevor Bauer as well. They came away with what most people saw was the big name of the position players in George Springer.
Yeah, Blue Jays. Yeah. And they or
Dunedin, or however you say.
Dunedin, I think, is in Florida. I think that's how you pronounce
it. That's
but
where they're going to start off their season.
They can't play in Canada right now. They're hoping that will change over the course of the season. But Blue Jays also picked up Marcus Semien. You mentioned that. Kirby Yates and Tyler Chatwood.
Right. So
for their pitching staff.
And so now you've got Ryu is there.
Mm-hmm. Chicken Strip.
Right.
Ross Stripling.
Ross Stripling is there. You've got a solid team. You've still got the young core with Guerrero Jr., Biggio, Bichette. They're going to be a fun team to watch again this year. And now with some solid veterans like Springer in the mix, Marcus Simeon, who was was an MVP candidate a couple of seasons ago. They're going to really be a team to watch. There were a lot of other moves. That was just some of the bigger ones. The A's picked up, like we said, Adam Kolarek went up there from the Dodgers. Trevor Rosenthal, who was a big trade last year at the trade deadline to the Padres, is now an A. And then they traded Chris Davis, went from the A's to the Rangers for Elvis Andrus. So some bigger names there that have been around for a while.
Going back to San Diego, Fernando Tatis Jr. signed an extension with the team.
Is that like 700 years?
700 years for 14 years for $340 million. And I think a lot, that's probably, I don't know that the length of the contract but that it was expected that he was going to have an extension of some sort, because he is becoming, or is, the face of the Padres, I think.
And even one of the main faces of MLB.
Right. Yeah, definitely. But one of the things that I thought was really interesting about Tatis Jr., and his dad was a big leaguer, Fernando Tatis. Senior, right, is that when Junior was in the minors, he got a payday loan, I guess is what you would call it. And
it's not a structured settlement.
It's not. He didn't go to J.G. Whitworth.
What is that? 877 cash now.
So $340 million, but this company called Big League Advance, what they do is they look at, I don't know, are they piranhas or sharks when they're looking at these minor league baseball players? You have to be a prospect, like a top prospect. And so they started doing this, I think, in 2017. And what the players would agree to, and Tatis agreed to, is he would give up anywhere between 1 and 12% of his future MLB earnings. The typical deal was 8%. The contract applies to MLB earnings, not endorsements. So if his deal was 8% of his earnings, then that would mean $27.2 million of this contract would go to Big League Advance, which at $340 million probably won't miss it much, but it still surprised me that it was out. I would miss it, but
well, think about it, because he's going to get taxed on that money,
right?
And then he's got to pay them that money. So what does it really cost him in the bigger picture? Yeah, that seems a little, that's the problem. It's preying on the desperate, because at that point, even if you got a couple of million, signed, a lot of guys, depending on, where you're from, a lot of these guys, they send money home to another country, or they don't come from a wealthy family, so they need this money. We've talked about it before, about the last season. We talked about it with the lack of money in the minor leagues, how they're not even really making minimum wage. What is $7.25 is the national minimum wage? No. When it breaks all down to what they make over the time, they don't even really make that, or maybe barely that. So they're suffering through trying to be a ball player. So these guys get in there, if they're going to make this. I'm sure this company is excited about that because it paid off. How many guys didn't?
Yeah, I mean, if in the agreement or in the contract they sign, if you don't make it to the majors, then it doesn't apply.
Well, that's good. They
don't make you pay like interest, 1,000% interest, or whatever it may be. But it does bring back the instead of all these step off rules and robo umpires and all this stuff going on in the minor leagues, why aren't we looking at what, at the players and making their lives better as they're working towards that goal where they're getting
product development. Without the
Yeah.
product, there's nothing for Major League Baseball to sell.
Yeah.
I know that some of these guys are going to rise to the top without that. That's just who they are. They're those guys.
Yeah.
They're the Mike Trouts of the world, the Bryce Harpers of the world, all these players, the Babe Ruths of the world. These are guys who are just going to be there. But there's these other guys who are a half a step away from it. Or you're going to have superstars, and then you've got to have the day-to-dayers, the workmen.
Yeah.
And they don't see that. It's constantly taking their eye off the ball. I'm surprised that Manfred hasn't got a big knot in the middle of his head where he got hit with the ball one too many times, because he never sees it. They never see the things that are important. They're too worried about that there only be 15 seconds between pitches and that there's not a fourth outfielder.
So it brings up, I think, this kind of thing, with Tatis doing this loan so that while he was playing in the minors, he would be able to, afford to have nicer housing, have those things that he needed to develop into the player that he is. But then you look at somebody like Kyler Murray, who was the quarterback for the Sooners, the University of Oklahoma Sooners, but he also played baseball and signed with the A's, but decided to go play in the NFL because he doesn't have to be in the minors. And I know, we've talked about this before, but it's a good, it's looking at, he's now playing, he's the quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals. So,
and it's always about the money in any situation, and
Yeah.
he's going to get money up front. Even if he could have gone to the A's in the minors and got the signing bonus that he got there, plus whatever the guarantee on his contract as a high draft pick, he probably would have, because you can play baseball much longer than you can play in football.
Yep.
And these days, as a quarterback in the NFL, you have to be immediately productive.
Yeah.
There's no build up to it. Your college build up, your minor leagues was called University of Oklahoma for 4 years or 3 years. Now you're ready. Get in there and go.
Yep.
And if you don't, you find yourself out of the league. If or sitting on a bench somewhere. And if all you want's the paycheck, then who cares? But yeah, that makes it harder for players who may be more talented in, as a baseball player, to not go off to the NFL or the NBA even though the NBA has a minor league system, as it were, in the G League. As long as there's not the predatory lending, but that's got to be a shock. 27 million. If he did that, if he did the 8%, what if he did 12?
Oh, yeah. That's even better for those guys.
But think about it
company.
too. At 8%, it's only 27 million of 300.
Only.
But
Right.
his 300 and whatever millions over 14 years.
Right.
So do they allow him to pay it back like that too?
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I don't know if he has to do
Because he's not getting
full-
27 million right in his pocket right now.
Right. Yeah.
Hey,
It's
Fernando,
definitely-
this one's on you. I'm broke, man. Why? I had to give my whole paycheck to the paycheck guys.
Yeah. And yeah, it just is, I guess it's kind of a commentary on, where we are kind of a society too, that even for somebody like Fernando Tatis Jr. felt that he, made this decision. He said it was a family decision, which just surprises me just because of who his dad is. But I don't know what, the situation was at the time and what was going on. So, yeah, at 14 years, 340 million with that 27 million automatically taken out And what if you're late on a payment? What is,
Right.
what happens there?
Is there late fees?
Their penalty?
Does it
So
bump up the interest?
Yeah. And so it's definitely something I think that the Players Association should, definitely.
They need to monitor at minimum, but they need to watch it close and keep, maybe even start looking at the agreements with the players to protect the players. But minor league players aren't covered by the Players Association.
That's true. But,
Still,
maybe
they
something,
could extend that. Hey, we're going to extend this legal advice. We'll look at it and let you know if this is a good deal or a bad deal.
Yeah. I think
So you're
that would
not
be a
taking
good idea.
advantage.
Yeah.
And that'll do it for this week's Sibling Rivalry Baseball podcast.
Remember, you can find us on our website, siblingrivalrybb.com, and on Facebook and Instagram at Sibling Rivalry BB.
We're also on Twitter at Sibling Rivalry BB without the A. Email us, show@siblingrivalrybb.com. We'd love to hear what you think, so subscribe and rate us wherever you listen to our podcast.
Next week on Sibling Rivalry Baseball, it's the most wonderful time of the year.
Opening day! We'll preview the season ahead.
Keep your eye on the ball.
And swing away.